Welcome to tonight's webinar, Foundations, Learning Hebrew Grammar, Part 5. Now, just to kind of bring you up to speed where we are in the process, we're alternating between Greek and Hebrew in the Foundation series. So Part 1 and Part 2 we have already released. Part 3 and Part 4 will be releasing shortly. And tonight we're doing Part 5. So very excited to bring this to you. And together the whole series is going to take you and teach you basic Greek and Hebrew grammar. So you can go a little bit further in the original language. So what is the purpose of a webinar? Well, first we're going to provide training for Logos Bible software. We'll provide training so that you can study the topic for yourself. We'll provide biblical insights related to the topic where it makes sense. And we're going to provide a personal book so you can equip yourself and others. And this personal book will have everything, all my notes that I'll be using tonight. In fact, let me just pull that up so you can see that real quick. And here it is. And so you can see that we have all the different topics that we're covering tonight. And notice that the links are included in the personal book. Also, we have special searches that are embedded in the personal book, and links to other books and resources and so forth. So it's really comprehensive and a great complement, and it comes with the purchase of the webinar. So what are the topics we're going to discuss tonight? Well, we're in the middle of the introduction. We're going to just spend just a few moments on the sentence clause types. We'll talk about the rule of concord, what is a pronoun, what are the construct relationships, what is a preposition, the conjunctions, the adjectives, and the direct object marker. Now, this may seem at first blush pretty simple if you know English grammar, and many of us have struggled with English grammar, so this would be a good review. But understanding basic grammar and understanding these types of constructions, you'll begin to see word relationships. And this will help you in your understanding of Hebrew and allow you to understand more carefully what's actually being said in the original language. You can purchase a previous webinar. We discounted for $4.99, and then this webinar will email you as soon as it becomes available. We're starting to catch up. And then if you haven't purchased the Logos training bundle, I highly recommend it. It is the most comprehensive training. And I need to add this. What separates LearnLogos from everyone out there is the following. First, we have more training than anyone when it comes to Logos Bible software, specifically these training bundles as well. In addition to that, all other training out there, for the most part, is just an overview. They're showing you features, they're showing you bells, they're showing you whistles. Now, we do that too, more comprehensively than anybody, but then more importantly, we take it to the next step. We show you the books in your library, and we teach you how to study with Logos Bible software. And in short, I have a fourfold train approach. Step 1, we teach you the features. Step 2, we teach you how to connect those features to specific Bible study tasks. Then step 3, we organize those Bible study tasks in a Bible study methodology so that you can approach the word in a systematic way. And then fourth and most important, we teach you about the books that you have in your library as well about those books that you could add to your library. Because if you don't understand the resources, knowing how to study is only going to get you so far. So we're going to show you where the data is and what kind of books to use at each step along the way. We'll email you when the webinar is ready. If you want to go ahead and pick up those training DVDs, just go to LearnLogos.com/buy now. Okay, the 2014 live training schedule. Don't forget to check it out. We've got a lot of webinars still ready for the rest of the year, so check that out. Don't forget our special May-June event. It's LearnLogos.com/inductive. So if you're a precept individual or like to study inductively, this class is for you. It's 6 sessions, 2 hours per session, 12 hours of live training. But this is more than the typical webinars that I do like I am doing this evening. There's homework involved, there's personal discipleship involved, and there's a syllabus as well that'll be very comprehensive that you can use to grow yourself in the how to study the Bible inductively. Now, the early bird special has expired, but you can still get $25 off if you have purchased any LearnLogos.com training in the past. So it's a great special there. Take advantage of that. Shoot me an email. Just go to LearnLogos.com/inductive, and that's how you can sign up. If you want the coupon, just email me, support@LearnLogos.com. There's also a link on the page. You can click that as well. The next 2 webinars, 2 weeks from tonight, will be the top 60 shortcuts for Logos 5, part 2 of 3. And then we'll pick up where we left off on our Jonah Part 2 Bible study. And that's a 6-part series. Very excited where we're going. This is a real Bible study format. There's a syllabus that comes with it. There's homework involved. And there's discussion. Really exhilarating, walking us through the Jonah Bible study. So take advantage of that as well. One other thing I wanted to mention, in case you weren't aware of this, many of you, and maybe few of you, have not heard of this companion Bible. It's on a pre-pub special for $20, and it's an absolute must-have resource. What makes it so great is the appendixes and the notes and the outlines that it has. It identifies a lot of chiastic structures and other significant insights into the text. It really is an amazing study type of Bible, and that's why they call it the Companion Bible. So I just want to make you aware of this. If you just go to LearnLogos.com, type in Companion Bible in the search box and click Bid Now, you'll be able to move that line up towards the top, and hopefully we can make this cross the line and get this resource available for everybody. Keep in mind that once Logos releases this, the price is going to go up probably dramatically, at least double or triple the price, $40 to $60. So take advantage of this incredible book and resource. Again, Companion Bible, just go to Logos.com and enter that in there. I don't do this too often, but once in a while a really neat resource comes through, and I like to make people aware of it. All right, we are ready to jump in, so let's go ahead and do that. We have a couple resources that I want to make you aware of. Now, in the previous webinars, in fact, let me bring those up right now. In the personal book, I have made quite an extensive list of recommended books and resources. So I don't want you to think that I was being light here. You can see that there's a whole bunch of resources I've identified in the previous webinars. So I didn't want to repeat that information in this personal book because that would be very redundant. However, I did want to point out a couple resources that I think will be very valuable. You can buy them separately, and they'll help you on these specific topics this evening. The first one is Miles Van Pelt, Biblical Hebrew, a Compact Guide. Now, the reason I like the compact guide, let me go ahead and click on that resource, and I'll bring it into the window. I like the compact guides because they are forced to communicate difficult subjects in an easy-to-understand manner. And when you're dealing with grammar, the easier and clearer it is, the better off you'll be. Now, why is this book so wonderful? Because it identifies all the major subjects, like nouns and etc., and we'll work through this, and gives you some brief definitions and shows you how it's used and where it's used. It'll mention some exceptions now and then, but it won't bog you down in a lot of technical jargon. Now, I need to make a point right here because this is very strategic. Because you have Logos Bible software, you don't have to get caught up in trying to, what I call, cite parse or read the biblical text from the Hebrew. Now, it is important, I think, to learn the Hebrew alphabet, as I've shared in the previous webinars. But one of the hardest things you have to do when you learn Hebrew, and we had to do this in seminary, was we had to learn to what I call cite parsing. That is, look at the word and break it down into its parts of speech. Is it male? Is it female? Is it a verb? Is it a noun? That is very time-consuming, and it just really bogs you down. But because Logos allows you to see that information with a simple mouse, you don't need to spend time doing that. What I want to do is equip you to say, okay, now that we've identified, what do we do with that information? How does that help us understand the biblical text? So this is a big, big help, having Logos, because you don't have to worry about how the spelling may change because it's in a different form or something's been added or subtracted or it's too close to another word. You don't have to worry about any of that. You need to know is how to take that information and then interpret it properly. So very, very important I bring that up. So take advantage of the Biblical Hebrew Compact Guide. Now, in addition to that, this next resource by Gary Pradigo is a Biblical Hebrew reference cheat sheet, as I like to call it. And as you can see, it's very affordable. Now, I like this one in particular. Let me open it up because, once again, it's giving you concise information. Here's the alphabet. Here's the Hebrew nouns. And now, again, you don't have to worry about the changing of the spellings because Logos is going to tell you what it is. But what it is going to do, for example, Let me go down to prepositions, okay? What are the types of prepositions? And here's the Hebrew adjectives and so forth. So it's just a handy reference guide for those who are wondering, for example, what is a construct chain? And it gives you some nice, helpful information. So be aware of that. It'll be very helpful. And then there's Putnam, which is another wonderful resource, a little more advanced, but still very affordable. And it's going to give you some quick definitions, a little more information on the Hebrew grammar. And so let me go ahead and open up that. So like here, for example, is pronouns. And it tells you what it is and the types of pronouns. And then it breaks it down on what's special about them and what's unique and how they're used. And it gives you biblical examples, which I really like. So for just a few dollars, you can get yourself really situated with some helpful, concise resources that'll come in handy. All right, so let me go ahead and close those down. And let's jump right into tonight's teaching. Now, the first concept I want to deal with is sentence clauses. Now, we're going to deal with this much more. We've dealt with it a little bit in the past. We're going to touch base again a little bit now, and then we're going to deal with it more intensely later. But I'm trying to spread it out so you're not overwhelmed. But in the Hebrew, there's two types of sentences or two types of clauses. There's sentences and clauses that have a finite verb. We call that an independent sentence. And the idea is that it really has the whole thought right there. It's a complete thought. Nothing else is needed to support or explain that idea. Then there's an independent sentence without a verb. They call this the verbless sentence. And this is really important to understand, and this is why I'm bringing it up tonight, because when we get into these other parts of speech, the way they're constructed and the where and how it shows up in the sentence, it can alter the meaning, and it can actually imply like a to be verb, like is. So it, in a way, the way it's constructed, it's in a sense supplying the verb, but there is no literal verb in the sentence. So if you're studying and you come across a sentence and you're looking for the verb, no worries. That's very standard in the Hebrew language. So we'll talk more about this, but what you need to know tonight is that some sentences just don't have verbs, and that's okay. Some clauses don't have verbs, and it's still a complete thought. Now let's talk about concord, which isn't a very fast plane in our case, but we're talking about is agreement. Now what I've provided here is a real basic search to help you search your library. Now I've created a Hebrew grammar collection. Let's go ahead and do that together to make sure you've organized your books so that when you're searching for these grammatical constructions and definitions and you're looking for examples, you can just search just your Hebrew grammars. So let's go to Tools, let's go to Collections, and let's call it Grammar: Hebrew. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up mine since I've already created it. So Grammar: Hebrew. Now, the rule is very straightforward. It's type, grammar, then one space, title, Hebrew. So we're looking at the type of book, which is a grammar book, and you can see that right there in the type column. And then we're looking for somewhere in the title they mention Hebrew. Now, this will get you, for the most part, Hebrew grammars. You're going to get sometimes Hebrew readers, which are basically books to help you practice reading your Hebrew. But this simple rule will allow you to gather all your Hebrew grammar books under one collection, therefore making it easier for you to search. So let's go ahead and close that down. You can click New, and that'll save it. Now, here's the search to get ourselves started. I typed in Concord, space, all capital letters, or space agreement, and then I selected for our collection the grammar Hebrew only. So if that's not selected, go ahead and do that now, and you are good to go. Now, with us searching just the Hebrew grammars, you'll see that our search results are fewer and far between. And that's good because now we have just what we want regarding this particular topic. Now, what do I mean by concord? Let's go with a simple definition. It's when two or more words that have exactly the same gender, number, person, and definiteness. The purpose is to show, and here's the key, that there's a grammatical relationship. In other words, the words are connected. For example, we may see a concord between a subject and a verb. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these examples so you can see this concept in play. So here's Genesis 16:15. And it says, "So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the name of the son whom Hagar bore Ishmael." So let's go ahead and look underneath. I'm going to turn on the interlinear, or better yet, we could simply just float our mouse and see what it says. Okay, so we float our mouse over Hagar, and we see it says noun, proper, feminine, singular, absolute. We go to bore, and we see that it's third person, feminine, singular. Now, very important, Hagar is feminine and singular, and bore is feminine and singular. In other words, there is concord between Hagar and the word bore, which means there's a relationship. Now we know the subject and the verb are connected. So we know it's Hagar who bore, not Abram who bore. Now I know that seems very basic, but when you start getting into Hebrew and you start looking at all these words, this is going to be a lifesaver. So if we float our mouse over Abraham, it says noun, proper, masculine, singular. So now we know Hagar's the one who did the boring, Abram was not. Pretty cool. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to Genesis 24:34-39. So he said, "I am Abraham's servant." So we go to Abraham, which is masculine singular, and we go to servant. Okay, now look at this, noun common singular. So we got the singular in there, we're not really sure. But if we go further, we go to, let's say, he said, third person masculine singular, and then there it is, third person masculine singular. So this idea is showing connection here. So this is all very, very helpful in helping you see word relationship. Now, very important to add here, the construct chain is the subject, its verb will match. Now, we'll get into construct in a little bit, but construct, in fact, let me bring up that Hebrew reference grammar and take a moment here to deal with this concept. We talked about this the last time, but let's review just to make sure. Okay, in Hebrew, think of a train. And in every train, there is the engine that starts the train, and there's the caboose, and then there's the cars in between. Hebrew works much the same way when it's trying to show relationships. For example, Hebrew expresses the of relationship between two nouns by placing them side by side in a construct chain. The first noun in the construct chain is called the construct noun. And remember, Hebrew reads right to left, so we're looking at this word at the right, and is said to be in construct state. The second noun is called the absolute noun and is said to be in the absolute state. Now, why are they using these words construct and absolute? Here's why. The first noun is called construct because it has to be constructed to a particular form. In other words, it can change. And because it can change, that's why they call it construct. The absolute, those items that follow, don't change. That's why they're called absolute. They stay in the absolute form. So they absolutely don't change. Pretty cool. So when you see these series of words in a row, they're all related. And what's important with concord is that they have similar concord. And that's why I said here, in construct chain, the subject and its verb will match in concord. So that's why when we looked at 1 Samuel 24. Then Jonathan said to David, "Whatever you say, I will do for you." I'm going to float my mouse over Jonathan, and he's a noun. And then he says to David, and then he says pronoun, whatever, and then he says you, noun, common singular. Notice there's another pronoun added there, pronoun suffix, second person, you say. I, another verb, will, another verb, do, all these for you. So notice that I float my mouth over the whatever, and then I float over the word you. And if you look at the morphology down at the bottom, it says noun, common, singular, construct. I'm going to go ahead to the main command box. I'm just going to type in BHS, and I'm just going to select the 4.2. Doesn't matter which one you open. So now we've got our Hebrew open and our New American Standard. I recommend doing this when working with Hebrew. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click on this tab, and I'm going to drag this down. And we're going to create a little layout here to work more easily with the English and the Hebrew. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to link them up. So I'm going to click on the book icon. I'm going to click on A, and I'm going to go to my Bible, English Bible, click on A. Next, and very important, click on the 3 circles and make sure you have sympathetic highlighting turned on. Not only for the English one, but also for the Hebrew. Now, why are we doing this? Because when you select the text in one, the text in the other gets highlighted. See how it's gray? And if I go up here and I select then Jonathan said, you'll see the Hebrew down there. Now, why is this important? Well, the English is going to break up the word order from the Hebrew. So sometimes it's hard to identify the context.